is by Mr. Kudzai, and the name is From MUN to the UN, an unexpected journey. Please remember to keep your microphone and video off during the entire presentation. Microphones and videos are only allowed to be on at the end during the optional Q&A session. I would like to remind you that the chat is only for Q&A purposes as well. Note that if you do turn on your microphone or videos, it will be turned off immediately by an admin. Thank you for your understanding. The floor is now yours, Mr. Kudzai.
Thank you so much, Dania. Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, or good morning, depending on where you are. My name is Kudzai Mukaratirwa. I work as a consultant for the youth program for the United Nations Office for Drugs and Crime here in the Regional Office for East Africa. So today my presentation will be on my journey from Model United Nations to the United Nations, an unexpected and unplanned journey. I've prepared some slides, so I'm going to share my screen if that's okay, admin.
Yes, absolutely, Kudzai.
Okay, perfect. Can everyone see it? Okay, everyone can see it? Okay,
yes,
perfect.
great.
Okay, let me see. Let me go back to the beginning. So an unexpected journey, so to speak. Let me minimize this so you don't see all the Zoom stuff. So I'm a bit new to this. There we go. So my journey began in Harare, Zimbabwe when I did MUN. And I started MUN when I was 17 years old. And this is a quote that I often live by that says, "What we do in life echoes in eternity." And why this quote matters to me is because that's what led to my involvement in MUN. I realized that as long as I'm alive, I've got a responsibility to leave a footprint on this earth and leave it in a better state than I entered it in. So that's what I'm currently doing at the moment. Okay, I don't know how to minimize this thing, but it should be fine as long as everyone can see. So humble beginnings. My humble beginnings began in an art room at St. John's College in Harare, Zimbabwe. As you can see on the left, I was much younger there. And I was introduced to MUN by accident, actually. I needed to do a club in my second last year of high school. And this was a new club that had just entered the school. And I was like, okay, why not try something new? And I instantly fell in love with it. MUN helped me reach the discovery phase of my journey, to discover that there are things in this world that I'm curious about and that I want to learn more about. And the more I got involved in MUN, that's when my passion grew for global issues. And this journey will be different for everyone, whether it's, for me, it was international relations, education, and youth. For some people, it could be architecture, others engineering, others computer design and programming. And that part of the journey is completely up to you. Okay, next slide. So this is where your journey begins. So in this workshop, I'm going to share my story. And after I share my story, we're going to do an exercise about your journey and how you can start from discovering what you care about, finding your passion, and taking action on this, and reaching, well, maybe not reaching a final destination, but rather enjoying the journey. So discovery phase. This is about learning new things and gaining new experiences. I had to push myself out of my comfort zone. I was mostly a science student. I was going to study chemical engineering or medicine at university. Those are the two courses I predominantly applied for, and a law course, just out of curiosity to have options. But after doing MUN, I left the sciences completely and continued on the route of international relations, human rights law, etc., etc. And I started to discover the world around me as well as how it operates. This is a really important part of your journey, to be curious, to want to explore, and not to fear leaving your comfort zone. And the more I took in, the more I learned, the more I listened, I realized that I was unhappy about some things in the world and in the world around me as well. Because these things start at home, the communities and the things you see, and youth and education and the quality of education, the opportunities young people receive were not adequate in my eyes. And I wanted to do something about it. And I managed to do this through joining online Model United Nations as an officer, as an
would appear that we're having some technical difficulty. See if Kudzai gets back to us. We will message him to make sure he, yep, let's see. Thank you for your patience as we have this technical difficulty. These things happen. Somewhat out of our control, so get Kudzai back on the line hopefully soon.
Yes, and unfortunate for Kudzai, I think this is a ongoing frustration that he has. So we'll get him back on here in just a minute.
Okay, here he comes, and we'll give him the co-host privileges again, get him back on track.
Hi. Hello. Sorry about that, guys. I had a power cut, so the generator just kicked in now. One of the challenges we have here sometimes, but
we told everyone, Kudzai, this is a little bit of your unfortunate reality, so many of us can relate. So anyway, the floor is all yours again. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. So sorry for the minor technical difficulties. We are back in action. So where was I? I was talking about my journey. So I went from discovering the world around me and the new things that gained my interest and the new experiences I wanted to take in and understand, to realizing what I am unhappy about in the world and what can I and how am I going to go about changing these things. And I think this is where my passion was born. And for a lot of people, this is where their passion is born. The discovery phase, you're dipping your fingers in different pies and seeing how they taste until you find the one that's, just got the right taste and flavor for you. And I was like, okay, youth issues and youth matters and the power and potential of the youth to change the communities around them and to change the world. So once you've reached the passion phase of your journey, this is where things get excited and a little heated up. You've discovered a problem, but you don't fully understand it. And this is a very crucial phase of the stage that many people can get wrong or can get lost in because they think they're the solution. When you encounter the problem you want to change and the thing you're unhappy about in life or around with the world or with your community, you really have to dive in and immerse yourself in this problem. So for me, it was youth issues, opportunities for youth to impact their communities, and I realized it was a much more complex problem than I thought. And I made me more passionate to understand more. Like I would think, okay, why aren't we providing more opportunities for people to be in schools? And they'd be like, okay, the schools provide the access to education because it's a constitutional right, but not all parents can afford it. Why can't parents afford it? It goes into an issue of employment, etc., etc. And you learn about the different structures at play, but you don't understand them straight away. So this phase requires a lot of patience. And then it also drives you because you realize no matter what obstacle comes in front of you, you're still passionate. You're not hindered by any challenges or disappointments you encounter. And this is a key part about pursuing your passion. You have to be ready to accept challenges, immense challenges, setbacks, disappointments. That's when you know you're on the right path. If everything's going too smoothly, there's probably something wrong. So from the challenges phase, you reach the pedestal of solutions because you get very fed up and that forces you to be creative. I'm sure many of you have heard the saying that necessity is the mother of invention. Well, that's what happened to me. I realized there's a need for these opportunities to be created, and I can't sit and wait for someone else to do it. I'm responsible for it because I care about it. And by the time when I'm at my deathbed in my grave, I would want people to say that throughout all this time here on earth, he managed to change this. And this is what drives me. This is where passion comes from. And after you the discovery phase and the passion phase, you reach the most exciting, exhilarating, and thrilling and scary part, which is what I call the growing phase. Now, I don't know if any of you know about the Chinese bamboo tree at all. Oh yeah, I can't see hands in the chat. Okay, so the Chinese bamboo tree takes 5 years to grow. The seed is so hard, it takes 5 years for the plant to actually break out the seed. After 5 year period, the Chinese bamboo tree grows up to 80 feet in 5 weeks. So this is the growth phase of your journey, and it was a pretty remarkable part of mine, I think. So you've reached the growth phase. What's so this is where we're going to do a little exercise. So to give you a sense of my first year, it was just as I left high school, I discovered my passion, I discovered Omen. I was discovering alongside Mark and a lot of other online games around the world, and this was for me. And in the second year, during the second year of my university, discovery phase, learn different ways and avenues that I could use to pursue my passion. This is when I joined United Nations Association of South Africa. So the United Nations Association, the UNA Association, has 100 countries, across over 1,000 universities, if I understand correctly. Um, and I joined one of these to figure out what's the United Nations doing in universities. And the club was derelict, but I mobilized a group of passionate people. There were about 15 of us in the club in total. And the club hadn't done much in the last 1.5 years. But in that 1 year, I was really about funding to go to our first university, started a project with the local schools and local municipality, as well as started a volunteership program with the Red Cross Association of South Africa in Durban specifically. And I did all of this thoroughly through passion. I thought, what can we do about the climate? What can we do about the United Nations? And what can we do about students who lack opportunities? And I realized youth are a workforce for change. And we need experience and they need labor. So I contacted various numbers of NGOs, sent emails, made phone calls, had a lot of rejections, but finally the Red Cross was like, we need hands, we need young people. And the young people like, we need experience and we need exposure. And these two worlds met perfectly. And in this discovery phase, I learned a lot of things. Also, I learned how to look for funding, how to write emails professionally. Then skip to the third year, understanding the world around me and how to navigate it and developing my identity within the world. This is when I started taking part in the first international organization I ever given, and after that, many, many more. But really excited, and I realized who I wanted to be in the world and how I can translate this to other youth, to educators, to policymakers, and realize and grow, And then stage 4 was taking initiative and actions towards the things I believed in. And this involved working more extensively with Omen, more extensively whether it was with other university students, my friends, people I'd met at conferences who needed help finding more opportunities or setting up programs and projects for themselves, for their schools, for their universities. And I literally out of my free time and have these things. You realize giving yourself responsibility is greater than yourself because the matter is what's most important.
Kudzai, it's Mr. Newman. I'm going to interrupt you for a second. We're having a little audio issues. You're fading in and out, but at some moments it's fine. But we also have an issue with a draw tool that's annotating your display. And I'm going to ask the admin if we can figure out how to stop that. That would be great.
Okay. I was wondering what that was.
I can help you with how to stop that. So you have a green button showing your screen sharing, right?
Yep.
So there's a more option there. If you click on that more option, there should be disable annotating.
Disable annotating. Okay, annotate. Clear. Okay, wait.
Is that under advanced sharing options?
It's not working.
Okay. There we go. Thank you so much.
Sorry to interrupt you. Kudzai, continue, please.
No problem. Okay, so I was at step 4, and this is where, hold on, let me just ask these guys to keep quiet.
This is all part of the adventure, folks. All part of a global summit. Thank you all for being so patient.
Yes, thank you for your patience, guys. Apologies for that. So taking initiative was my 4th year, so to speak. And then my 5th year was the growing phase, where I finished university, wasn't sure what to do with my life. I want to continue working with youth, I want to continue in the expert advisor, thanks to Lisa Martin's recommendation for Africa specifically. And from there, it was just, 80 feet in 5 weeks. I came as an expert advisor, the youngest expert advisor, and I was an opportunity on that institutions and the has a new program for the and I design a new mechanism, like completely on my own initiative and it out about the team and as well as at as well as what's it called? Qatar, Diamond Qatar. And this was quite the following year, another global summit where I was once again invited as an expert advisor. Oh, I can see a little drawing coming. And from there, I continued this. I ran some programs for free for them in Ethiopia on the Blue Heart campaign, which is anti-human trafficking campaign. I'm not artistic anyway, but I believe art translates the message and advocacy, that policy documents and law proposals. And from here, I literally worked at the university. I wasn't being paid. I was working in for an NGO, working for online United Nations, program. And through these efforts and through the mutual interest and the passion they saw that I shared in the work they did, they invited me to take up a position here as a consultant for the program in India. And I was supposed to be attended, that was extended to 3 weeks and so simply to passion, want to make change last year. Every opportunity that I try and so that's the summary of my journey. So I'd like to do a quick exercise with you guys and then maybe okay.
Kudzai, I'm gonna stop you one more time. Is there anything else we can try to get better audio for you?
Okay. How's the audio now?
That's much better.
Oh, it was my earphones. Apologies, everyone.
Let's try that. Great. Glad we figured it out. Sorry.
Okay, great. Okay, so in this small exercise, if you guys have a piece of pen and paper with you, I would like you to write in one side, on the left-hand side of the paper, top discovery, and then on the right-hand side of the paper, excuse my writing. And then from there, I would like you to write 3 things you'd like to discover, whether you're already involved in them and would like to discover more, or you've never had any interaction with what you're interested in. And then 3 things you're passionate about in Korea, you're supporting you to change the world. And then maybe I'll give you guys 1 or 30 seconds for this. And would it be better to share this in the chat or maybe give some people some screen time?
So Kudzai, I think we may have heard the first one, but do you want to repeat those one more time or even write them in the chat, the 3 things you want them to write?
Okay, so 3 things under, okay, so there'll be 2 columns. 2 columns. 1 is discovery. 1 is passion. Write 3 under each column.
Just so
Yes.
you know, I stopped your screen share just to see if that helps with bandwidth.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll send it back. I'll tell you once I'm going back to the presentation. Okay, I take it that everyone has written down something. Would anyone like to put their hand up, maybe to share 2 things from each column? And the admin can manage and select people.
Looks like we have a shy group maybe.
Okay, that's fine. If we have a shy group, I can continue.
Well, do they understand what they're supposed to write in terms of what their passions are? Or
Okay, I can explain further, maybe because of the audio. Yes,
Yeah.
you can have more time. I can give everyone 2 minutes, actually. I guess I'm so used to it, it comes very organically to me. Yeah, so under the discovery column, it can be anything. There are no rules. It doesn't have to be extremely meaningful to other people. It's what you want to discover about life. It can be as simple as learning more about support beams. Like that's something very simple and something I learned from a friend who builds housing for refugee camps, that their curiosity about support beams led them to figure out how they can build more sustainable and more suitable refugee camps with less funding needed. Okay, yeah, like interest in is it psychology or phycology?
Excuse me, there are certain mistakes that I try to type fast.
No problem. And then under passions, it can be anything from gender equality to marine biodiversity to recycling used plastics to access to renewable energy. It can really be passion. Politics, perfect. We need more young people in politics, actually. Legal studies, oh, interesting. Law, that's very similar to me and very important one. Model UN, international relations. Medicine and pediatrics, especially. I think pediatrics is really important. As someone who grew up in a country with amazing pediatricians, I really missed that once I left the country. Animals, especially in African areas. African wildlife is something that's really incredible and something we work with, especially wildlife trafficking and wildlife crimes. So that's a really cool area. Community support groups and charity volunteers. I like that one. That's very out the box thinking, especially from the UK. I mean, community support groups are very vital to sustainable livelihoods in communities. More than economic support, community support is incredibly important for successful communities. Okay, so we've got a long list now of discovery and passions, and that's awesome. Now we're gonna move to the next step, right? And we're gonna write about your journey. So I'm gonna reopen the slides just so you can see, share screen, just so you know what to write and where to write it.
I hope my audio is still functioning. Oh.
You're sounding good so far.
Okay, good. No. So I would like you to now take your pens and papers on the next page and write year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. And this is about your growth phase or your Chinese bamboo phase. I'll give you guys some time to write that. And under year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5, you can write something small about what you'd like to do in that year. I mean, some of them are a bit thinking into the future, but that's really important. It's more about like assessing your goals and yeah, just putting forward what you want in your life. And this is a very interesting phase because the reason I use the story of the Chinese bamboo tree is that it reflects the journey of many people who've reached where they've always wanted to be in life. And how during that 5-year period, you've got this seed in the ground that you're watering and nurturing. And your neighbors can see this, your friends can see this, your families can see this, and they're not seeing anything growing. They're not seeing any progress whatsoever. And they see you every day watering and nurturing this passion you have. And they're wondering, what is this person doing? It's been 1 year, it's been 2 years, it's been 3 years. And they're continuously watering and nothing has left the ground. And you just continue watering and nurturing your passion and cultivating your interests. And by the 4th and 5th year, people are now laughing. They're like, what is this person doing? And why are they doing it? Like, and the neighborhood is saying, what is he growing? They're saying he's growing a Chinese bamboo tree and there's nothing that's come out after 5 years. But after that 5th year phase of growing, you will see the fruits of your labor coming out. So let me see if I can open the chat on the side. And you guys can just write something simple for year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. It can be very simple. Emile, so nice to see a South African name. So year 1 is what would you like to learn, explore and discover in the following 12 months? And yeah, that's year 1, just a few things. Year 2, once you've learned and discovered this, how would you like to take the next step to pursue this passion or these areas you've identified? So let's say year 1, you want to discover more about medicine, or you want to discover more about volleyball and human rights law. Year 2, you want to join a volleyball club, or you want to see if you can volunteer at a clinic or a hospital, or you want to see if you can attend some medical school lectures, even though you might be studying clinical psychology or you might be studying gender studies, but you're making an active effort to learn more about medicine. And there are no rules when it comes to this phase. It's just you're interested in this, how can you enter that arena and gain some experience? Then year 3 is now you've worked at the clinic or you've had some chance to volunteer, you've attended some medical school lectures, or you've played in a club volleyball team for 1 year. Maybe you'd like to train for a tournament and enter a competition and challenge yourself and push yourself towards discovering more. Thank you, Charlotte. And then now you've played in your first volleyball tournament ever and you realize you'd like to play more, or you realize that the way volleyball tournaments are organized, they don't give accessibility to everyone from different communities, or they're not enough representation of people with disabilities in these sports, or it's very limited to people with socioeconomic access. And then year 4, you're taking initiative. So at the next volleyball tournament, you're not a player, you're actually part of the organizing committee. And you're making sure that people have more access to the event itself, that there's better maybe sanitation and hygiene, especially maybe for male and female players, or you discover that your community needs more support, or students who have had children have less access to their tertiary education because they have to drop out, and you're trying to figure out, okay, what steps can I take? Who can I meet with at the university? What funding is available to do this? And then step 5, you've now been doing this for a while and you understand how the system works. You've created a network, you've created friends, you understand the different authorities, and now you're taking the next step to say, okay, I've volunteered, I've helped organize the tournament. This 1 year, I've created more accessibility. but I would like to organize my own volleyball tournament, or I would like to expand the capacity of this clinic. It can only take 100 people in a week or a day, and there are 10,000 people in the community. We need to at least expand it and give it 20 more beds. Where can we get beds? And you think, okay, who's moving apartments, who's giving and donating away things? And these are like the growing phases where you gain momentum. Okay, let's see this one from Tara, Malaysia. Research more about climate change, take part in seminars and workshops. Very good, knowledge is important. Taking measures to contribute less towards climate change. Yes, your personal impact is very important, and leading by example. And then for educating people about climate change, definitely, and being creative about it. Then 5, join Greenpeace, UNEP. Oh, UNEP is headquartered here, actually, and similar organizations in fighting against climate change. That's really beautiful. Let me see if I can read some more here. Yeah, 1, learn German, Italian, and French. Nura, I love languages, so I'm totally with you. My German is quite rusty. My Italian, I'm good at listening, but my French is fluent. But languages are really beautiful and can unlock a lot of doors and opportunities for you. Let's see, jazz, community support groups and event fundraisers, volunteer at a shelter, definitely get to know the people you want to help, fundraise for your own charity. That's very ambitious, I like it. Create your own local group and promote and encourage others to do it, definitely. Like learn, gain experience, lead by example, and then inspire others. This is really awesome. I'm really enjoying your answers. I'll read a few more before we move to the next step. 1, try out science, stick with MUN, especially the World Health Organization. Very, very important. I think the World Health Organization can always contribute from, benefit from more experts. Getting in co-op in a hospital, very, very good. Stay in the co-op, meet professionals, research positions. Yes, I like it. Apply to undergrad health sciences, enter undergrad, hopefully, and get in. You will get in, and even if you don't, you'll get many other opportunities along the way. I mean, I started by doing Model United Nations online, and before I knew it, I was giving workshops in Qatar and organizing events in Ethiopia and assisting programs in Afghanistan. But when I took the first step in the first year, I never knew that was where I was going to end up. So thank you for that, Ariana. And link between economies and psychology, economics and psychology. That's a really interesting one. I mean, we work with that a lot, Nina, in our program, especially the link between substance abuse and poor economic performance, because the psychological needs of youth aren't met, and substance abuse, crime, and violence are the coping mechanisms, which are quite negative. So if you can find a positive solution to that, that would be amazing. Oh, wow. This one's cool. Mohammed, continuing experience in Model UN, familiarize with Model UN and sharing, write articles and blogs. Okay, writing is really, really good. I think the better quality written content we have out there, the more young and old people can benefit. Make a YouTube channel and use your tech skills to change campaigns. Yes, and going to college and raise public awareness. Interning at the UN. That is awesome. And I hope by the time you intern at the UN, they're paying the interns. It's one thing we're fighting for. Okay, so I've read a lot of your contributions, and yeah, Lisa, you can relate. Sorry, I can't read all of them. Okay, David from the Philippines, debate, discover debate and debate format, debate. Oh, that's amazing. Debate is really powerful. I work with a few debate projects, aim for an award, and teach and other help students to debate and logical discourse in the community. I think that's really important. Number 5, especially logical discourse in communities is a key tool towards peace building in communities and conflict resolution. So that's something you could look into. So now we're moving on to the next part of the exercise. Thank you for writing all of those down as you continue on your various journeys. This is what we call the bamboo season. And when you're going through the next 5 years, I would like to say, it's really important to nurture your growth and protect the seed of passion you're growing, right? 3 things that have been really important for me throughout my career and my journey have been, 1 is always maintaining your reputation. And we learned something in law school called peremptory norms, and I just call it personally in my life the doctrine of peremptory norms. And peremptory norms in the legal sphere are considered things that cannot be derogated from. So these are rules and legal norms that don't necessarily have to be written down because they're so ingrained within the community that you'll never deviate from them. And in terms of reputation, peremptory norms are personal. So things you do and how you conduct yourself, how you hold yourself accountable, how you speak to people, being punctual, being professional. These are the things that I think from the beginning of the time I started working, I held on to certain peremptory norms, and I still hold on to them today. And they've carried me through a lot of opportunities in life, and they've also helped me maintain them as well. Your reputation is so important. When they say your reputation precedes you, it's really true. I mean, Lisa and Andrew, I'm sure, can testify to that. That before you even walk into a room, if you have a reputation of being a person of certain principles, people can always rely on you, and this will always precede you. Before you even get on a plane to leave in a country, people will be excited to meet you because there's certain principles you hold dear to yourself, and you uphold yourself to certain standards that they become synonymous with your identity and your character. And then the second part is your ability. Thank you, Lisa. The second part is your ability. So continuously cultivating your ability, assessing your environment, and learning from the best to be the best. So when I first started with online MUN, I barely had a good internet connection. You can ask Lisa, like, I wanted to participate in as many debates as I could, but I realized I couldn't, but I participated in promoting the debates, welcoming people into the Facebook groups and into the online MUN community and making them feel at home, because that's where I saw my strengths were. And then later we were doing some fundraising, and I realized, like, I kind of like writing these documents and proposals. And oh, we got a hand raised. Okay, I'll be wrapping up just now to take some questions. So give me like 2-3 more minutes, and then I can take your questions. Yeah, so ability, like cultivating your ability. So that's where my writing passion started. I love writing technical documents. It's one of the strengths my boss says I have, and it started with online MUN writing our first fundraising proposal pitch, and then it just continued from there to writing the first fundraising proposal when I was in university for our club, and then from there designing the review mechanism for the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, and then designing the Ethiopia country program on ending human trafficking, advocacy against human trafficking through art exhibitions. I had never done any of this before, but I continued cultivating what I did. I learned from all the people I worked under. And I always looked at the people who I looked up to. So the people who do the best work, I go and see what they do. And I'm like, can I replicate this or can I make it better? And that's what you do. And when I first came here, like I said, I only had 10 days here. And after 3 weeks here, I was like, okay, I want to be the best youth programmer in East Africa. And then after that, I'll move on to the rest of the continent. And then after that, I'll move on to the rest of the world. But I have to continuously grow my abilities. So this is an important part of nurturing your growth. Challenge yourself, give yourself new opportunities. If someone gives you something, an opportunity or a task, and you don't know how to do it, just accept it anyway. Learn along the way, ask for advice, and you'll keep growing. And then from there, humility. I think this is the most important one out of all of them. How you treat people says more about your character than what you'll ever achieve. I mean, the people I get along with at work and who I've stayed in touch with the most and I've done the most amazing work with are the people who treat each other with humanity and dignity. And this is often rare in the work world, whether you enter the development world, the UN, etc., or private sector. Humility will take you so far, and realizing that at the end of the day, we're all equal, regardless of what title you've been given or what position you are or what award you've won. You must realize that how you treat people with dignity and respect is incredibly important for your growth, first of all. And secondly, you learn the most important things that way from the people you never thought you would expect you'd learn something from. So now that we're done, so here's the cycle of cycle of growth for me. Just a quick summary: from high school, MUN at the top left, and this is when I was in Dubai when Lisa first saw me, then to organizing the first MUN trip our Model United Nations University Club had in 5 years, to being in the MUN Impact think tank, thought leaders group, to being an expert advisor for the UNODC. On the bottom right, you can see Andrew with the selfie, to where I am now today. So whatever you decide to do in life, do it with passion. Whatever opportunity you receive in life, be sure to make an opportunity for others. That's really important. As I've moved along, I always make sure I make an effort to help others have opportunities. And whatever success you achieve in life, achieve it with humility. So now I would like to take some questions while we reflect and build. Admin, I'm assuming you'll manage that. I'm looking at the time just so I don't go over time.
So yeah, I can manage that. So the first question can be asked by Azma from Qatar, if she wants to activate her or his microphone and video.
Hi.
You can move. Yep. Hi, Azma.
I just want to say that was a really inspiring presentation. But my question is, what should one do to bounce back from the struggles that they'll experience as they work on achieving their growth and dreams?
What should one do to bounce back? I think perspective is really important when it comes to bouncing back. Lisa would know my parents wanted me to be a lawyer, and they weren't very encouraging for me to work in development. And what I used to do when I saw, when I realized, because I come from a developing country, so entering development work, I've got a lot of barriers ahead of me. And I was listening to one song, or I was listening to something that said, sometimes you have to work twice as hard as other people to have half of what they have, which means I have to work 4 times as hard as the average person in some circumstances just to get to where they are. And I think there's no shame in this at all. I think this is very character building, first of all, and creates a different appreciation for life and where you are in life. Like, one of the main character traits I have in the office is they're like Kudzai, like such a happy, sunny person all the time. And I tell them is because the things I had to go through to get where I am makes me appreciate them so much more. So when you go through these challenges and you need to bounce back, just realize that it's part of the journey. And at the end of the day, it'll make you appreciate what you have more in the future. And that'll help you have a stronger platform and foundation to stand on.
Thank you so much. That was an incredible presentation. One of my favorites.
Thank you.
I think we have time for one more question with Kudzai. Daphne, you want to do that?
Yeah, how about Abhishu from Nepal?
Hey, am I audible?
Yes.
You are.
Thank you so much for that presentation. It was indeed like very inspirational and helpful. I actually figured out the year 5 plan in a better way, like right now when we were doing that as well. So thank you for that. And my question is, like, how has it been working with the UN, and how do you think like the things you discussed in MUNs and the way that you discussed it, like the procedures of it, prepare you for working with the UN?
Okay, that's a really cool question. So to answer the first part, how is it working for the UN? It's incredibly rewarding, incredibly challenging, and new things come up all the time. So in terms of rewarding is the communities and the people I've managed to work with and see what they've done. Like, the main role I like to tell young people I work with, whether it's from developed or developing countries, is the role of the UN is not to help communities. The role of communities is to help themselves, and the role of the UN is to help communities, just to support communities while helping themselves. So I think that's been the best part. I mean, the part I didn't expect, and the challenge is there's a bit of like geopolitics at play. So a lot of people are always asking, why isn't the UN doing this? Why isn't the UN doing that? So to give a quick overview, the United Nations is invited into a country by the government of that country. So they're there with the government's permission. And then the United Nations is funded by several donors from several countries, et cetera, who have certain aims and objectives, whether it's to promote anti-corruption and good governance, rule of law, et cetera. So there are different areas funded by different countries under different restrictions and regulations. And then to actually implement these things. So I could be in Kenya and I receive funding from the government of Sweden to work on education and certain parts of education, such as crime prevention, criminal justice, and youth recidivism. And I have to get permission from certain ministries in the government of Kenya in order to now start implementing. So these are the things I wasn't aware of before. So sometimes the people can think the UN is acting slow, taking its time, but it takes a lot of processes to actually get to the implementation part. But once you do get there and once you figure out how to navigate this very bureaucratic machine, you start to fly high. So yeah. And then the second part of your question.
I may have to cut you off there, Kudzai, unfortunately.
Sorry.
It's so painful for me to have to do. Thank you so very much for coming out today to share your knowledge and your experience with all of us. It's so insightful, and participants, your chats, everything in your messages are so positive. We just absolutely love your participation.
Thanks
for contributing. So it's wonderful. So
yeah,
right.
and
thank you so much, Andrew.
And if I can just throw in, I mean, I've actually found this pretty emotional, like just a fantastically wonderful presentation. But I think this also shows we need to have Kudzai back. Maybe we should have like a talk with Kudzai session, right? So I think there's lots of opportunities to get him back. Follow him on Instagram and Twitter. He's out there. Kudzai, what's your SDG, your Twitter handle? Tell us again. It's
my Twitter handle is SDG Casa Nostra.
There you go. Let that be the last word here in our presentation. Kudzai, thank you so much. We will get this on YouTube in the next couple of days. And for the rest of you, we'll see you at your next sessions. Take care, everyone.
Thank you all very much.
And there's the link for the playlist. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me send it to everyone. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you, Lisa and Andrew.
Thanks, Kudzai. Bye-bye, everyone.
Yeah. Bye.